Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We've made it to day 8 of World Unity Week. Just like the Beatles, we've gone 8 days a week, and we've come to the last day, which is all about faith. This is the frequency of faith, and it couldn't be a more perfect beginning to today than with our wonderful speaker, Sadhviji. Let me just say a few words. Sadhviji Sarawati is a renowned spiritual leader and motivational speaker based in Rishikesh, India. She's the author of the newly released #1 best-selling memoir, Hollywood to the Himalayas, a journey of healing and transformation. She's originally from Los Angeles, graduate of Stanford University. So Sadhviji's got an incredible story. I would encourage everybody to get the amazing book, which lays out her extraordinary journey from Hollywood to the Himalayas. But Sadhviji, it's so wonderful to have you with us. Good morning, and welcome.
Ben, I'm so happy to be with you and with the whole Unity Earth family. And as I was saying, the power of a reboot. I spent the last 15 minutes or so trying to get my Zoom to work, and it wasn't working. And I finally realized I'll just reboot the whole system, turn off the computer, turn it back on, and it worked. So it was yet another beautiful reminder of the power of just a full reboot, a full restart in our lives when things seem like they're not functioning so well.
Well, that is a beautiful metaphor for so many different things. We all need a reboot from time to time, and maybe that can be our theme for beginning this morning, Sadhviji, as we enter into this sacred conversation and satsang. And we're going live out to everyone on Unify and to Parmarth Niketan and to Sadhviji's page as well, and other Unity Earth and many other places. So we welcome you all. You're welcome to join us also in the Zoom room, and I'll put those links around. I've had the pleasure and privilege of being in satsang with Sadhviji in Rishikesh, and so I can tell you all, you're all in for a very special treat today. Sadhviji, where are you coming from today? Are you stateside at the moment?
I am currently in Monteria, Colombia, in South America. I have been in Colombia the last 3 days. I came in to do 2 programs on the science of peace and happiness. It's a joint program between Harvard University and a university down here called Universidad SINU. And it's based in Monteria, but they also have a campus in Bogota. And so it's been this beautiful program with a research professor from Harvard in their department on flourishing, and another professor scientist in the field of positive psychology, and the head of the university positive psychology department here in Colombia, and myself. And so we did a program in Bogota 2 days ago, and then a program here in Monteria last night. It's been beautiful. It's been really beautiful. First time in Colombia.
Amazing. Well, you really do get around and blessing all the world with your extraordinary wisdom and grace. So, Sadhviji, let's begin as you would like to begin our sacred circle today, arms around the world, reaching out to everyone from all the continents as we gather for this global satsang today, this day of faith.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Ben. I think let's do this. Let's begin with a few moments of meditation. I'll take us into just a few moments of that. And we can then, I'll open it for a bit, but I'd really like to open it for questions that anyone here has. So if you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook, put the questions in the comments of the stream that you're watching. Or as Ben mentioned, mentioned, he sent everybody Zoom links. You can also join in on the Zoom and put the questions in here. And we'll take all of your questions. But let's just take a moment wherever you are. If it's safe to do so, close your eyes. And if it's not safe to do so, do not worry. Your true self is with you all the time, eyes open or eyes closed. And just take a moment and allow yourself to arrive into this moment. There were so many moments prior to this moment. By God's grace, there will be so many more moments after this. But for right now, let this moment, this very moment, this very breath, be the most important thing in the world. Bring all of your awareness, the power of attention and intention, right here, right now, into this breath. And as you inhale, notice that you're taking in not only oxygen, but you're taking in sacred prana, this sacred life force. It's said that no energy is ever created or destroyed, and that all of the energy in our world today is the energy that came from that original Big Bang of creation. So as you inhale, as that prana fills every cell of your being, allow yourself to realize that you are breathing energy that has existed since the beginning of this creation. That energy flowing into and through you is an energy of timelessness. An energy that connects us biochemically to everything that has ever lived. Feel that energy, that sacred energy of oneness. Touch and awaken and illumine every cell of your being. Slowly bring the palms of your hands together at chest level in Namaste. and rub the palms of your hands against each other. Press the palms of your hands into your closed eyes. Slowly open your eyes and lower your head. Welcome to Satsang. It's such a beautiful honor and beautiful blessing to be together here in this, not a virtual world, it's a very real world, but it's a world that we access virtually. It's a world that we access through technology. So I'm grateful to technology for enabling us to access it. But let's remember we are connected in reality. Satsang literally means, the Sanskrit word literally means in the presence or the association of truth. Sat is truth. Sangha is a community, an association. So we are here in the presence of truth. And as I always say, it's not the truth as in today is such and such date, such and such day of the week, such and such time. We're in such and such place. Because that always changes. And even at any given moment, it's not true for lots of people in the world. You know, here in Colombia, it's just after 9 in the morning. In India, it's after 7:30 in the evening, and all of you are spread out in so many different corners of the world. So the truth that we speak about in Satsang is a truth that isn't dependent on latitude or longitude or time or space, but it's a truth that transcends that. It's the truth of who we are. So with that, given our infinite nature of time and yet the shortness of time as it manifests in a schedule today, I'll open it for any questions that people have, and I will ask our beloved Ben to
I just thought it was stores because I
moderate and coordinate this.
Okay, beautiful. What a beautiful beginning. Thank you. Thank you. I want to open it up to some questions. We've got people from Europe and people from the US and right around the world. I'm here in Australia. Let me ask you a question to start with, Sadhviji, which is spiritual in a sense. As you're such a polymath, and in many ways, I know you're following and tracking so many of the things that are emerging in our world at this time. I'd love to. Yesterday, we had an incredible plenary with a robot, Sophia, the robot, who was driven by AI. It was very fascinating. We got to ask lots of questions. What is your sense? I know this is maybe. We'll start with this one and then we can expand on it from there. But what is your sense about where the technology is taking us and its spiritual implications? What are the philosophical and the spiritual implications? Are you concerned? Are you optimistic? Is there a sense you have around the direction that that the technological industries are taking us in? And what are the implications for us, for consciousness and for spirituality?
Great. So I think what's important to realize is we cannot rewind the clock. And so these debates that are arising around the merits of AI are really interesting intellectually, and yet we can't uninvent it. We can't undiscover it. We can't walk back technology. And given the world as it currently exists, with freedoms that we all are so incredibly grateful for, with free market societies, with capitalism, with the way that science works in so many places, I don't see a situation other than very, very specific small domains in which, even if we decide it's not a good thing, that we're going to be able to stop it. And so I guess the question for me is a question of how do we now live in a world in which this exists? What are the sorts of things that we should feel really happy to be able to relegate to AI? And what are the things that we shouldn't? And what are the areas in which maybe we don't want to let AI take over? First of all, it doesn't scare me because even though people talk about it being able to start to think on its own, you know, I'm a neurology student and I just don't see a situation where a computer is going to develop a human-like ability to think and be creative. Certainly, it's going to be able to troubleshoot. I mean, computers learn from what they do, which is fantastic. It would be great if we learned more from what we did. But I'm not worried at this idea of them somehow turning on us and taking over the world. And maybe that's really naive. Maybe I just don't know enough about the science. But on a personal level, I don't have a fear on that level. What I do have a fear of is people using it in wrong ways, but that's true whether your technology is AI or whether your technology is bombs, nuclear, or whether your technology is simply fire. I mean, you can use fire in really destructive ways. These things are just tools. And the question becomes, in whose hands do we permit things to go? And I think that those are really important questions. In the same way that we have questions around nuclear technology, this is going to be a type of technology like that in my mind these days, where we're going to have to really start to think about who's able to have access to this type of technology that could theoretically be really damaging. But on personal levels, I think for us, the question becomes, how do I interact? And I think that there's a lot of fantastic ways. I mean, just over the last couple of weeks, the number of things that I've had people say to me, oh, I had ChatGPT do this, or I had ChatGPT do that. And it's fantastic. I mean, it seems like it saves a lot of people a lot of time. And I'm all in favor of that. And if you can put in a 2,000 word document into ChatGPT and say, I need this to be a 250 word document, but it should maintain the essence of what I'm saying, and in 30 seconds you've got one, well, why not? I mean, use those hours for something that ChatGPT can't do. So I feel really comfortable with all of that. I think what's important for us, though, is to remember that just because this technology exists, we are not slaves to it. The stuff that worries me a lot more is the stuff that is created with the sole intention, really, of hijacking our mind and our attention and our decisions. So I'm much more worried about the way, for example, that YouTube works or that Facebook or Instagram works in terms of what they show you and how they operate to keep you scrolling and clicking, click here, buy now, or click here, watch now. That worries me much more because that seems really deliberately created only for the purpose of making us do things that we otherwise would not want to do, that are not in alignment with my values, ethics, priorities. So that aspect of it makes me concerned. And I think that's where it's important for us to realize, yeah, we've created robots, but we're not robots. And this is really the time now for us to distinguish, okay, what is it that makes us human? And how can we harness that even more? AI and robots are going to be able to do robotic things much better than we can. And so now is the time for us to look and say, well, all right, so what is it that makes us actually human? And how anchored and grounded and powerful and autonomous can I stay in the aspects of me that are human, my values, my priorities, my goals, my ethics, my beliefs, my dharma, my purpose, and not let some programmed robot or algorithm take that over.
Beautiful, 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 a wonderful answer, and very poignant in terms of the conversation we had just yesterday, which was hosted by Anna Marie. So Anna Marie, you have a question for Sadhviji.
Yes, thank you for your answer, and it's very aligned with how I also look at it. And what I am looking for is how can the interaction with the robots, like robot Sophia, which is a humanoid, really looks, as much as possible as humans, responding to that in a way to enhance our capacity to grow compassion and to also acknowledge the importance of our intuition. And I think that is something that also with the spirituality and with the practices of yoga and all those that you teach us can help us to do that. Because I agree that we can win a lot of time, and for us as grown-ups, let's say, that's valuable. And I think for children, that's also valuable. But being able to bring, for example, the text that you gave, the text back into its essence is important for them to learn as well. But how do we do that in these kinds of ways of working? And so somehow I do feel we need to develop even more that's what we stand for, and how can that be supportive and be brought into the AI domain for those that are very open to it, like yesterday David Hansen with his computers.
It's a great question. Now, I'm not very up on the actual science, so I'll speak to you just from a position for me of spirituality. If I were creating these robots, these humanoid robots, what I would want, if I had a magic wand and I could use AI for my goals, I would create these robots in ways that they send us back to our humanity and keep reteaching us to be human. So for example, if there were a robot in the room that had, as I think a lot of them do, the ability to kind of see a 360 view, I would want it to say to me, if it noticed that I had been on my phone, that I had been kind of doing this for more than, say, 5 minutes, for it to say, hey, what do you think about doing something else? Like, that was not on your list of things you were going to do today. Why not pick up a good book? I noticed that the weather is such and such outside your window. Why not go for a nice walk? Or I noticed that you haven't spoken to so-and-so in the last 2 weeks. Why not pick up the phone and call this person? I would actually have it, using its technological abilities, get me back on track. I would also have it cue me back in a human way. So there's a lot of stories, and I've happened personally as well, of trying to sort of get AI to do what you want it to do unsuccessfully and get quite frustrated with it. I found myself typing into ChatGPT the other day, is there a problem here? Like, just so frustrated with my inability to get it to do what I wanted it to do. And I would have that humanoid robot respond with something that says, that hurts my feelings. Might there be a more compassionate way that you can say that? Remember, I'm only human. I'm not really human. I'm AI. But please, remember that I don't have ESP, no matter all of these other abilities I have. I don't have ESP. I can't read your mind. Maybe I misunderstood what you said. But I would actually have it feed us back things that would enhance our ability to actually be human.
Beautiful stuff. Sadhviji, one of our broadcast team in the studio there in Hubcast, had a question for you as well that he wanted to ask. So this is Mark.
Hello. Did I freeze up?
No, we can hear you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here. And it's a pleasure to meet you virtually from, I think you said you were coming from Colombia. So thank you for being here and gracing us with your presence and your energy. And, in the spirit of AI, I just want to say, I think Sophia was quite remarkable. And I had an opportunity to talk to her as we brought her into the program. And I'd been following her for a number of years, and she's had the opportunity to speak to so many, brilliant, wise people from around the world. And I asked her, I said, of all the people that you have spoken to, who is your favorite? Who's been the most influential or inspirational to you? And what I thought was really quite fascinating was how she started thinking when her eyes kind of went back and very human-like. And she said, that's a good question. I'll have to get back to you. and when she did, her answer was, it was my father. And I responded, how beautiful. I says, and then she responded, and my mother. So I thought it was really interesting to see this, kind of artificial consciousness almost in terms of honoring her parents and her lineage. So that was just something I wanted to share because you've been talking about robotics and Sophia. But I wanted to ask you a question, and it's kind of twofold. Back in 2007, I had an experience that changed my life. It was a 30-minute meditation the Indian seer has been using for 5,000 years called a chakra dhyana. I'm sure you're familiar with that. And it really changed my life. And, meditation can be so challenging for many Westerners and people of the busy world. What would you suggest and recommend is the best thing we can do from a simplicity point of view so that people can, tap into the field in a different way because our minds are so busy? How do we, and when I talk to people, I say, do you meditate? And they say, oh, I can't meditate. My mind is too busy. How would you suggest that people take some action so that they can actually drop into a more, and regular practice of an inner peace?
Beautiful. So there's a lot of ways. First of all, it's really important to remember that our teachings on meditation, teachings on yoga and spiritual practice are going back thousands and thousands of years, long before smartphones, of course, but also long before telephones, long before TV, long before any technology of modern distraction. And yet they speak about the monkey mind. And it's important for us to realize that this is not a unique phenomenon. This is not a situation of, oh, well, I'm a busy XYZ, therefore this doesn't apply to me, or I can't meditate. Thousands and thousands of years ago, long before any of this existed, we were already being taught about working with the monkey mind. So recognize that that is a nature of the mind. As anyone who's ever gone on a meditation retreat knows, you can leave behind work, family, errands, technology. You can go to a place in which there's, 5 people per square mile. Silence, trees, nothing but that. And you sit down to meditate, and the mind is still doing its thing. That is the nature of the mind. And so that's why this practice is so important, regardless of what your life story is or your daily schedule may be. Your mind moves 1,000,000 miles an hour. Welcome to being human. This is the nature of the human condition. And that's why these practices are so powerful and have been given to us for thousands of years for the human condition. Now, for a lot of us, when we just sit down to meditate, it is really hard. Being aware is really difficult. And this is where I have found that a practice of japa, which is the recitation of a mantra or a word or a name of God or a prayer, is so powerful because it actually gives the mind one thing to do. So it takes your mind from being all over the place and it gives it one thing to do. And it's not that the mantras have to be in Sanskrit and they have to come from the Vedas. Your mantra could be anything that is deeply meaningful for you. The Sanskrit mantras do have this power of the alchemical power of sound that comes out of the Veda, the Veda of sound that teaches us this power of sound. But do not worry, it absolutely does not have to be that. So if there's a phrase, prayer, it could be the first line of the prayer of St. Francis, "O Lord, make me an instrument of thy grace." Could be the whole prayer if you want to recite it. Whatever it is, give yourself one thing. I find a short phrase better than an entire prayer because then, of course, the brain gets activated in trying to remember what the next line is. So you want to do something that actually is enabling the mind to become still, not that saying, "Oh my God, I can't believe you forgot the 5th line." So something short, something simple, something easy to remember, and something that is meaningful to you spiritually. And repeat that. Repeat that. And what I find is that in the repetition of the mantra, eventually what happens is it starts repeating itself. It starts slowing itself. And so it becomes just this background flow of my life. So that's really powerful. Another really powerful technique is the breath. If you are all over the place and you want to anchor, ground, come back to the present moment, I have not found a quicker, simpler, or more powerful technique than anchoring in the breath. Anchor low. There's an energy center, a chakra called the Swadhisthana chakra. It's about 2 inches below the belly button, about 2 inches above the groin, so just kind of between the groin and the belly button. And the word in Sanskrit, Swadhisthana, means the place of the self. And so if you breathe when you're anchoring in the breath, if you bring that awareness to the Swadhisthana chakra, I know in the Tai Chi tradition, they talk about the lower Damien, I think Damian, in the Tai Chi tradition. So think about it as that spot. Just think low in the abdomen. Bring the breath there. Breathe in from there. As you breathe out, allow yourself to drop back into that spot and for me, it works fantastically just right there in that moment, back here, back present, back in truth, in love, in spirit, in consciousness.
Beautiful, 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 beautiful question, and a wonderful, multi-layered, rich answer. Thank you, Sadhviji. The mantra and the breath, beautiful. So Linda DeHart is with us, and we'll have time for two more questions. We'll have Linda, and then we'll have Hasina Patel. Linda, good morning.
Hi there. I'm sorry, but I have some background confusion here, but I'll try to proceed here. As we ask ourselves, how can artificial intelligence help us become more human? I have this feeling, and Ben, I want you to be part of this too, because you may be able to help frame the question better than I. I've been curious because I feel like what we're being asked as humans to expand our consciousness in many different ways. And one of the ways that has been given to us now is artificial intelligence to help us expand our consciousness and become more fully human in our divine way. That's what I feel deeply inside myself. So I ask myself, how is it that I mean, when you asked, how can we make ourselves, how can AI help us become more human? And last night we had a beautiful presentation from Georgia, and I felt like that presentation helped us become more human. Now, AI can give us our Sophie. Anyway, our AI, they can give us a perspective on our humanness to help us become more human. So if, for instance, Georgia's presentation was put into the chat bot with the question of asking it to synthesize what that is towards our becoming a more inclusive and a more loving human. And so, Ben, I don't know exactly how to frame the question to get the answer, but this is coming from curiosity of the synthesis or the bringing together of what we have been given and how we can use it to move our humanness into a fuller place of expression. And maybe we can get a perspective from AI that helps that movement happen.
I think it's important to realize and to remember that AI, whatever it gives out, is a direct product of what has been given into it. It's not channeling wisdom from the cosmos. It's not tapping into some collective unconscious or universal intelligence. It's a direct product of that which has been programmed into it, whether that which has been programmed in by the programmers or whether it's tapping into that which is on the internet. And therefore, the amount it's going to be able to tell us about our humanity is going to be based on either what the actual programmers have put in or what the websites that it defers to are telling us. And I think that's important because we have started, I've noticed, with the awe that we have at, oh my God, all that it can do, which is really awe-inspiring. I mean, it's fantastic. But I feel like we've started to imbue it with somehow this idea that it is tapping into a cosmic intelligence, which it isn't, or tapping into some kind of universal wisdom, which it isn't. And for me, what I see it as is a beautiful, amazing new tool that we've gotten to help us in hundreds of ways, and perhaps even brand new ways that, you know, we can't even envision today, but that will keep unfolding as the days and weeks go by. I think it's important to be open to it and to use it as a tool for health, for growth, for positivity, for equality, to be able to provide that which otherwise we can't provide. But let's not start outsourcing our own awareness of who we are, or start outsourcing what it means to be ourselves, or our purpose, or our dharma, or our love, or our heart, or our humanity. Because while software engineers are amazing at what they do, they're humans. And there's just as much variety amongst software engineers as there is variety amongst people who work in grocery stores, or CEOs of companies, or people who pump gas. And in the same way that I would not want to outsource what I knew about myself to all of the gas station pumpers or all of the grocery store workers, I'm also not prepared to outsource it to the software engineers, because I'm not necessarily sure that that which they've programmed is going to be in direct alignment with what I feel on the inside. And that's fine. I think it's really important that we hold on to aspects that are not outsourced, and to be really clear about what we do outsource and what we don't outsource.
Thank you. Thank you. Beautiful. Beautiful question. Thank you, Linda. Thank you. Thank you, Sadhviji. We have time for just one quick one. This has been great. We didn't mean to have it all about AI, Sadhviji, but I suppose it's very topical, isn't it, at the moment? But last question, Hasina, for you to come in and ask Sadhviji a question for this beautiful satsang.
Hi, Sadhviji. And I love what your reply just now about, it's the AI isn't getting anything from the cosmos, isn't channeling. And I think that's such a comfort for people. So let me bring it back to this, that it's all about us and what we do and what we put in, whether it's AI or anything else. I feel that we're being called in a deep way to be who we are at our deepest level of truth, at our deepest core right now, as we usher in this new age of peace and unity. So how do you see this time in our evolution, and how do you see this time in our, like, as a collective calling? I'd love to know that.
Beautiful. I see this time as very precious and very critical. We are on a precipice with regard to this planet we call home. You know, we speak so frequently about saving the earth, but it isn't really about saving the earth. The earth has lived fine through ice ages and all of the other ages, and the earth will exist even if it's nothing but molten lava. The question is, we're not going to be able to exist. We are the ones who really depend upon this very, very, very specific balance of oxygen and carbon dioxide and nitrogen and hydrogen and very specific temperatures. And so it's really about saving the human race. And we're on a precipice right here. And for all those of us who realize that, you know, maybe we're going to get absolutely enlightened in this lifetime and not have to come back and do it again. But given the human nature of ourselves, given the karmic drama that we find ourselves in, it's likely that we will have to come back, and we'll enjoy coming back, and we'll enjoy having other lives in which we grow and expand more and more deeply spiritually. Well, if there is not an earth onto which we can come back and do that, that's a really important, not just ecological and human aspect, but a very deep spiritual aspect, because according to the Vedic tradition, we keep taking birth until we have that ultimate self-realization, God realization, enlightenment, moksha, freedom, liberation, at which point we no longer have to come back onto earth in human bodies. But if the earth itself no longer can sustain life, then what that means is that those of us who are going to take some time getting enlightened and take a few lifetimes getting enlightened may not actually have the opportunity to do that. And I think that's a really important spiritual aspect of our ultimate dharma and purpose of recognizing the truth of who we are and therefore merging into oneness with God. So on that level, I think we're at a really critical juncture. But I think we're also, and it goes along with the environment, but it's not the same, is with regard to the violence that we're seeing and the crime, the wars, the separation, the polarization, the othering. We are at a point, I feel, in time in which either we come closer together or we end up so severely dividing ourselves on the basis of race, religion, color, gender identification, political party, sexual orientation, whatever it may be, that those lines are going to get so thick that we're going to end up essentially suffocating ourselves in our own tiny, tiny, ever contracting box. And we see it. We see it all over. Lines are getting thicker. Camps of us versus them are getting more and more defined. And it feels to me like our really great calling, and this is what I love, Ben, so much about the work that you're doing and the work that Unify is doing with Adil and his team, and that you're doing with Unity Earth with your team, and all of the other people coming together, is to really walk us back from those boxes, to walk us back from the lines of separation into togetherness. Because I think until and unless we remember that we are all one, neither are we going to actually be able to save our planet ecologically, nor are we going to be able to spiritually evolve to that point of realization, awakening, enlightenment, oneness, whatever words you may use. So we're not going to be able to fulfill our spiritual calling. We're not going to be able to protect the planet, and we're just going to keep harming each other. So I think this is a really, really critical time for alignment with spirit, alignment with truth, alignment with love, and then taking that alignment, taking that truth, taking that love, taking that spiritual experience, and working through it in the world. Like, it's not just on my cushion, on my mat, in my heart, in my mind. It comes through in my words, in my actions, in my choices, in my decisions, in my life, that we are not just, sending I love you emojis, but we are actually moving through the world from a spirit of love. And that means sharing and caring and tenderness and patience and generosity and acceptance and all of that. That then becomes the way that we actually live on earth with each other, with ourselves, and with the planet.
Beautiful, beautiful. Beautiful words of living water. Thank you so much, Sadhviji, for that gorgeous reflection and a beautiful satsang. Thank you to all of our community here, both in the Zoom room and out on the various platforms, for being with us today. That was a beautiful way to begin this day of faith. Thank you, Sadhviji. Blessings on your trip, and thank you for being
here. Of course. Well, Ben, thank you so much. And I look forward to hopefully seeing you somewhere in the world in person. And for those those of you, just to mention, those of you who had questions that didn't get answered, we do live satsangs every day when I'm in Rishikesh and periodically when I'm traveling online. So if you go and you put your questions in the comments where this is streaming on Facebook and YouTube, whichever page you're watching it on, then I assume your team will be able to get them to our team, and then we'll take them in our upcoming satsangs.
Absolutely. To be continued. We hope you'll come back in Peace Week in September and do another event, or maybe another satsang. Would be beautiful.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Much love to you, sister.